Welcome to the Ultimate Sports Blog Podcast. Today's Wednesday, November 21st, 2018. Today I'm going to recap college basketball, NBA, NHL, college football, and the playoff rankings as well. Do my bold projections, do why every professional sports franchise should be thankful. Yesterday's podcast, for some reason, had technical difficulties, so I was not able to upload it. So I'll just do why every team should be thankful. And I'll do my picks for the weekend for college football, and I'll do a little college hoops. I'll pick the Maui games and the battle for Atlantis. But I'll do mainly college football and the NFL as well. And I'll do my best bet of the day. All right, let's start with college basketball. I'll just go through the scores. South Dakota State defeats UTSA 99-79. Illinois State defeats Akron 73-68. Jacksonville State defeats Western Carolina 84-53. Colorado State defeats Florida Gulf Coast 82-74. Number 16 Clemson defeats Georgia 64-49. San Diego State defeats Xavier 79-74. North Florida defeats Southern Miss 64-48. Temple defeats Cal 76-59. UC Irvine defeats Tulane 67-55. Boise State defeats St. Bonaventure 72-52. Loyola Maryland defeats Hampton 75-66. Iowa State defeats Illinois 84-68. Bradley defeats SMU 75-62. Indiana defeats UT Arlington 78-64. Number 23 Ohio State defeats Stanford 68-50. Notre Dame defeats Duquesne 67-56. NC State defeats St. Peter's 85-57. Ole Miss defeats Nicholls 75-55. The Citadel upsets James Madison 91-82 in overtime. The Citadel ruined my best bet for yesterday with the outright upset win over James Madison. UConn defeats Cornell 91-74. Quinnipiac defeats New Hampshire 69-63. Radford defeats William & Mary 81-72. George Mason defeats NC Central 78-63. Holy Cross defeated Albany 69-65 in overtime. NJIT defeats Wagner 71-60. North Alabama defeats Martin Methal 80-68. VMI defeats Kentucky Christian 106-80. Mercer defeats Maryland Eastern 80-42. Purdue Fort Wayne defeats South Carolina State 72-68. Morgan State defeats Navy 75-51. Kent State defeats Savannah State 104-84. Coastal Carolina defeats Methodist 88-57. Norfolk State defeats Regent 97-57. USC defeats Missouri State 99-80. East Tennessee State defeats Sam Houston State 77-63. Louisiana Tech defeats Tougaloo 87-68. Omaha defeats Bethune-Cookman 76-56. McNeese defeats Mobile 74-60. Belmont defeats Trevecca 104-50. In what I thought was the best game of yesterday from an entertainment standpoint, St. John's defeats VCU 87-86 in overtime. Toledo defeats Louisiana 77-64. Creighton defeats Georgia State 93-68. Detroit Mercy defeats Bowling Green 82-67. Lipscomb upsets number 18 TCU 73-64. North Texas defeats Maine 74-63 in overtime. Milwaukee defeats LIU Brooklyn 92-87 in overtime. North Dakota defeats Concordia 89-56. Mississippi Valley State defeats Southeast Louisiana 69-59. Number 1 Duke defeats number 8 Auburn 78-72, which was the best game on paper. Duke led the way the whole game. Penn State defeats Wright State 77-59. Stephen F. Austin defeats Marist 64-60. Grambling defeats Champion Christian 99-58. Minnesota defeats Santa Clara 80-66 in Vancouver. Texas Tech defeats Nebraska 70-52. UNLV defeats Pacific 96-70. Cal State Northridge defeats Tennessee State 80-77. San Diego defeats Colorado 70-64. Number 21 Oregon defeats Green Bay 83-72. Sacramento State defeats UC Davis 58-55. Number 3 Gonzaga defeats Arizona 91-74. Washington defeats Texas A&M 71-67 in Vancouver. Today, already final, we have a couple. UTSA defeats Florida Gulf Coast 76-65. Akron defeats St. Bonaventure 61-49. Pitt defeats St. Louis. That just went final 75-73. Great win for Pitt to stay undefeated. Oklahoma defeats Florida in Battle for Atlantis 65-60. Great win for Lon Kruger. Southern Miss defeats Western Carolina 68-63. Going on right now, second half, number 10 Kentucky and Winthrop at halftime. Colorado State and South Dakota State. Illinois Boise State in the second half. Illinois State. And Iona Hartford's underway. Battle for Atlantis, number 25 Wisconsin and Stanford just underway. 2:30 in the Maui, San Diego State, Iowa State. 3 o'clock, Boston University, Drexel. Brown hosts Salve, Regina. North Florida at Jacksonville State, Cancun Challenge. Western Illinois, UT Martin at 4:30. 5 o'clock, NIT season tip-off. Number 5 Tennessee against Louisville. NCAT Mount St. Mary's. 5 o'clock, ESPN. This is the big one. The Maui Championship, number 1 Duke against number 3 Gonzaga. These teams are combined 10-0. Gonzaga, inspiring, come-from-behind win against Sean Miller and the Wildcats. I knew the Wildcats would give the Bulldogs a game. Ultimately, they came up short. Inspiring win for Gonzaga. I think they can hang with Duke like Auburn did yesterday, but ultimately Duke has the better team and perhaps the best 3 players on the court in Zion Williamson, R.J. Barrett, and Cam Reddish. I like Duke there. They get the win. Although I won't be shocked if Gonzaga covers the 6.5. Utah Valley and Long Beach State, Richmond and Wyoming, Louisiana Tulane, Georgia State, Georgia, Lehigh Siena at 6, Malloy Stony Brook, Wright State SMU, 6:30 in Vancouver, Washington and Minnesota. South Wesleyan and Furman, undefeated Furman, by the way. They should be able to win that. Wesleyan is not. And a Division I school. 7 o'clock, Colgate, Syracuse. Dayton, Butler, Battle for Atlantis. Marquette against number 2 Kansas. That's the NIT season tip-off. Fullerton and Hofstra. Prairie View, East Carolina. A&M in South Florida. Drake and UMKC. Florida Memorial in Jacksonville. Yale in Vermont. Palm Beach Atlantic and FAU. 22 Buffalo hosts Dartmouth. Fairleigh Dickinson in Princeton. Coppin State in Wofford. Youngstown State in Westminster, Pennsylvania. Rio Grande and Georgia Tech at 7:30. Texas State, Cal Poly. Sonny Martini and Army. Fort Myers tip-off, you have Loyola Chicago and Boston College. That's an interesting one. Toledo and UC Irvine. Number 16 Clemson and Creighton and Cayman Islands. 8 o'clock Montana State and Arkansas. East New Mexico and New Mexico State. North Colorado and Incarnate Word. St. Mary's and A&M Corpus Christi. SIU Edwardsville and Valparaiso. 8:30. Number 20 Iowa hosts Alabama State. Number 15 Mississippi State against St. Mary's. Penn State and Bradley and Cancun. Rice and BYU and the men against Breast Cancer Cup. 9 o'clock also in Maui, you have Xavier in Illinois. 9:30, Middle Tennessee and number 4 Virginia in Battle for Atlantis. 10 o'clock, SCF State in Portland. Harvard, San Francisco, Central Connecticut State and Loyola Marymount. 11 o'clock, Arizona State and Utah State in the MGM Resorts main event. And 11:30, ESPN2, number 8 Auburn in Arizona in Maui. And you have a lot of good games in the Battle for Atlantis the next couple of days. I think Virginia wins that. They're the best team in the field. I like Duke tonight. I think Arizona has a chance to upset Auburn in the 5th place game tonight. I think it's a golden opportunity for Gonzaga, as I mentioned, but I don't see them winning. Or I'm sorry, that Auburn game's the 3rd place game, not the 5th place game. That's my bad. The 5th place game is, I believe, the game that was final before. No, wait. It's confusing. I don't know which game's the 5th place game and which place is the 7th place game. Let me double check. The 5th place game is San Diego State, Iowa State, and the 7th place game is Xavier in Illinois. There you go. I was a little confused by that. I'm sorry, guys. NBA, only 4 games were played last night. The Raptors barely beat the Magic 93-91. Raptors go to 14-4. Orlando drops to 9-9. Danny Green hits the game winner. So Raptors are in a bit of a trap spot, and they survive barely. Speaking of trap games, the Clippers got trapped. They lost by a score of 125-118 against the Wizards. Wizards came back from 24 down to win. They're 6-11, but I think that they're still going to blow that team up eventually. Clippers dropped to 11-6. Brutal loss for Doc Rivers and the Clips. The Nets defeated the Heat 104-92. Bad loss for Eric Spoelstra and the Heat. They dropped to 6-11. Brooklyn goes to 8-10. Trailblazers defeat the Knicks 118-114. Knicks led the majority of this game. Portland pulled away late in the second half to get the win to improve themselves to a Western Conference best 12-5. In New York drops to 4-14. Big slate tonight. 7 o'clock, Pacers, Hornets. Pelicans, 76ers. 7:30, Knicks, Celtics. Raptors, Hawks. The big one. 8 o'clock, ESPN. LeBron James returns home as his Lakers face the Cavaliers. Is this a trap game for the Lakers? I wouldn't really call it a trap game. I think the trap game they already had, which was the Orlando game in which they lost. LeBron is going to be pumped up. I don't see how the Lakers lose this game. The Cavs are tanking. They're terrible. They're the worst team in the NBA this year. And I expect the Lakers to go out there and put on a show on national TV and silence their doubters a little bit. Suns and the Bulls at 8 o'clock, as well as Pistons, Rockets, and Trailblazers, Bucks. Trailblazers, Bucks is a very nice game, as the two teams are combined for 24-9 on the year. Portland, second night of a back-to-back. Milwaukee's favored by 7. An interesting 8 o'clock game between the Nuggets and the Timberwolves. The Timberwolves are starting to play a little better, even though they traded Jimmy Butler. Maybe it's a Ewing theory type of situation where they're playing better without their best player after they get rid of him, or if he gets hurt or whatever. That's Bill Simmons' theory. Bill Simmons is from The Ringer, as we know. And Denver has not played well of late, so this is a nice opportunity for the Timberwolves to steal a victory, as they are a 1-point favorite. 8:30 Nets, Mavs. Good spot for Dallas to take advantage of a team that's playing of a second of a back-to-back. Grizzlies, Spurs, who I think is the biggest surprise in the NBA, and the Grizzlies' second night of a back-to-back for them. Big opportunity for San Antonio to go to above 500 on the year. They had the big win over Golden State. They had the letdown in New Orleans. This is a nice opportunity for San Antonio to bounce back, as they are a 2.5-point favorite. 9 o'clock, you have the Kings at the Jazz. The Kings almost upset Utah on opening night, but Utah put the game away late in the fourth quarter. Utah, I think, has been the biggest disappointment in the NBA this year. I think this is a nice opportunity for Sacramento to prove that they're no longer a laughingstock. And then 10:30 on ESPN, Thunder, Warriors. For some reason, this game's not getting enough hype. I think it's because Stephen Curry's not playing. Russell Westbrook's back for OKC. This was the opening night game in which the Warriors blew out OKC. I could see a close game this time around with no Curry. I can also see Oklahoma City winning the game outright, which I am tempted to pick, but I just don't see it. Kevin Durant always plays well against Oklahoma City, and I think he'll lead Golden State to a close win over Russell Westbrook, Paul George, and the Oklahoma City Thunder. All right, let's go to hockey. That was a small slate yesterday. I only had one game, so let's not even call that a small slate. That's a one-game slate, and that was the Oilers defeating the Sharks 4-3 in overtime in Todd McClellan's first game as the Oilers head coach, as they go to 10-10-1. San Jose drops to 11-7-4. Number one star of the game with a goal and 2 assists, Leon Draisaitl, who scored the overtime winner. Number 2 star of the game with a goal and 2 assists, Connor McDavid. Number 3 star of the game with a goal, Ryan Nugent-Hopkins. Tonight's slate is big. 7 o'clock, the battle of the two surprise teams in the Metro Division, the two teams in New York, the Islanders and the Rangers. These two teams actually faced off against each other last week. The Islanders beat the Rangers on their home ice. Let's see if the Rangers get a little revenge. Canadiens, Devils, one of the other big surprises in the league, going up against one of the, let's face it, disappointments of the league after they made a surprising playoff push last year. Stars, Penguins, I think they're two of the bigger disappointments this year. Also 7 o'clock game, you have the reigning champion Capitals hosting the Blackhawks. Maple Leafs, Hurricanes. NBCSN 7:30, Flyers, Sabres. Nice opportunity for Buffalo here to get a win on national TV against a struggling Flyers team. Bruins, Red Wings, nice opportunity for Boston to get off the schneid a little bit. You have the Panthers and the Lightning. Good opportunity for the Panthers to get a road win with Andrei Vasilevsky being out. And even Tampa Bay is capable of winning without Vasilevsky. They have all the talent in the world on their team. They came close to beating Nashville the other night. 8 o'clock, you have the Blues and the Predators. Blues first game with Craig Berube. I'm interested to see how they come out and play. Senators Wild, 9 o'clock, Golden Knights, Coyotes. 10 o'clock, Jets Flames. That's a nice Canadian game. Canucks Ducks, and then 10:30 Avalanche Kings. So, 2 gigantic slates in the 2 NBA and the NHL. College football last night. 2 games were played in the MAC. Miami of Ohio defeats Ball State 42-21 to get bowl eligible. They go to 6-6. Ball State 4-8. Western Michigan upsets Northern Illinois 28-21. Northern Illinois is going to the MAC title game, so they didn't have to win this game. They're 7-5, and so is Western Michigan. I'll do my picks a little later on in the podcast for Week 13. College football playoff rankings, I'm just going to go through them really quick. 1, Alabama, duh. 2, Clemson, duh. 3, Notre Dame, duh. 4, Michigan, duh. Georgia, Oklahoma is 5 and 6. 7, you have LSU. That's a little too high. 8, Washington State. 9, UCF, well deserved. And 10 is Ohio State. 11 is Florida. That's too high. 12, Penn State. 13, West Virginia. 14, Texas. 15, Kentucky. 16, Washington. 17, Utah. 18, Mississippi State. 19, Northwestern. 20, Syracuse. 21, Utah State. 22, Texas A&M. 23, Boise State. 24, Pitt. And 25 is Iowa State. Interesting rankings, to say the least, as the top 8 remain the same. UCF's finally in the top 10. Ohio State moves up, takes advantage of West Virginia losing to Oklahoma State. I think that was the biggest what if West Virginia held on to that lead, where would they have been? And that game against Oklahoma would have been enormous for them. But it's enormous still for them because they have an opportunity to go to the Big 12 title game if they win that game. And same goes for Oklahoma. The winner of that game is going to the Big 12 title game. And Texas just has to win against Kansas to go. And Iowa State needs some major help. Bowl projections for Week 13. Just going to barge through them real quick here. A couple changes, especially in terms of Big Ten and teams losing unexpectedly and not take advantage of what's in front of them, and a combination of that and what's projected to come for some teams. College football playoffs the same. It's been the same the past few weeks on my projections. The Cotton Bowl is number 1 Alabama against number 4 Michigan, and the Orange Bowl is number 2 Clemson against number 3 Notre Dame. Rest of the New Year's 6, the Peach Bowl, LSU, Penn State. This is where I made some changes. Fiesta Bowl, UCF and West Virginia. Rose Bowl, Washington State and Ohio State. Sugar Bowl, Oklahoma and Georgia. The other bowl games. New Mexico Bowl, you have Southern Miss and Nevada. The Cure Bowl, I have SMU and Louisiana Monroe. Las Vegas Bowl, Stanford and Boise State. Camellia Bowl, Northern Illinois and Troy. New Orleans Bowl, Arkansas State and North Texas. Boca Raton Bowl, FIU and Tulane. Frisco Bowl, South Florida and Louisiana Tech. Prospero Bowl, Cincinnati and Virginia Tech. Bahamas Bowl, Miami of Ohio and UAB. Famous Idaho Potato Bowl, Western Michigan and Utah State. Birmingham Bowl, Temple and Vanderbilt. Armed Forces Bowl, Army and Houston. Dollar General Bowl, Buffalo and Appalachian State. Hawaii Bowl, Marshall and Hawaii. First Responder Bowl, Middle Tennessee and Fresno State. Quick Lane Bowl, NC State and Arizona State. Cheez-It Bowl, Oklahoma State and Arizona. Independence Bowl, Georgia Tech and BYU. Pinstripe Bowl, Syracuse and FAU. Texas Bowl, Iowa State and South Carolina. Music City Bowl, Mississippi State and Iowa. Camping World Bowl, Texas and Pitt. Alamo Bowl, Iowa State. The Texas Bowl's Texas Tech and South Carolina, and the Alamo Bowl's Iowa State and Washington. That was a mess up by me. I'm sorry about that. Belk Bowl, Boston College and Missouri. Arizona Bowl, Georgia Southern, San Diego State. Military Bowl, Memphis and Virginia. Hyundai Sun Bowl, Miami and Oregon. Red Box Bowl, Purdue and Cal. Liberty Bowl, TCU and Vanderbilt. Holiday Bowl, Wisconsin and Utah. Tax Slayer Bowl, Florida and Duke. Outback Bowl, Kentucky and Michigan State. And the Citrus Bowl, Texas A&M and Northwestern. Now I'm going to do why every sports team should be thankful. I'm going to go by division in the NFL. Just makes it a little bit easier. The Buffalo Bills should be thankful for Josh Allen, who may or may not be good. He's shown flashes this year, as shown in that upset win over the Minnesota Vikings. The Miami Dolphins should be thankful for some building blocks on defense, such as Minkah Fitzpatrick and Cameron Wake. The New England Patriots should be thankful for one reason, and that's Tom Brady and Bill Belichick still being around. The New York Jets should be thankful that they have a possible franchise quarterback in Sam Darnold. The Pittsburgh Steelers should be thankful for Ben Roethlisberger and Antonio Brown. The Baltimore Ravens should be thankful for their possible new franchise quarterback, Lamar Jackson. The Cincinnati Bengals should be thankful for Andy Dalton, who gets criticized for not winning big games against the Steelers and in the playoffs. But he isn't terrible. The Cleveland Browns should be thankful for a possible franchise quarterback in Baker Mayfield. The Houston Texans should be thankful for a possible franchise guy in Deshaun Watson and a great defense led by J.J. Watt and Jadeveon Clowney. The Indianapolis Colts should be thankful for Andrew Luck and the rejuvenated offensive line and a great new head coach in Frank Reich. The Tennessee Titans should be thankful for a good defense led by Jarrell Casey. The Jacksonville Jaguars should be thankful for a good head coach in Doug Marrone and a good executive in Tom Coughlin. Yeah, they probably missed on Blake Bortles, but that's a nice infrastructure to have with a football team. The Denver Broncos should be thankful for a great pass rush led by Von Miller and Bradley Chubb. The Oakland Raiders should be thankful that they're moving to Vegas. That would be a nice fresh start for them. The Los Angeles Chargers should be thankful for Phillip Rivers still being in his prime. The Kansas City Chiefs should be thankful for a special young franchise quarterback in Patrick Mahomes. The Dallas Cowboys should be thankful for Ezekiel Elliott and Dak Prescott. We're not sure if Prescott is the answer long term, but he's shown flashes such as in his great rookie season, and the addition of Amari Cooper has really helped him in these past couple weeks when Dallas has started to play a little better. And a great young defense led by Leighton Vander Esch and Jalen Smith. The New York Giants should be thankful for having the best player from this year's draft class, that is Saquon Barkley. The Philadelphia Eagles should be thankful that they won the Super Bowl last year, because this year they have had a hangover. The Washington Redskins should be thankful for a pretty underrated defense led by former Alabama greats Jonathan Allen and De'Aaron Payne. The Chicago Bears should be thankful for a great new head coach in Matt Nagy, who is developing Mitch Trubisky pretty well, even though Trubisky may not play tomorrow. We'll get into that in a few minutes. The Minnesota Vikings should be thankful for a great blue of talent, especially on their defense, led by Everson Griffin, Daniel Hunter, Linval Joseph, Harrison Smith, Xavier Rhodes, among others. The Green Bay Packers should be thankful for Aaron Rodgers. The Detroit Lions should be thankful for Matthew Stafford. This is similar to the Bengals with Dalton. Stafford can win you football games. Yes, the Lions have less talent than the Bengals, but Stafford, when he's right, puts up the great stats. The New Orleans Saints should be thankful for Sean Payton and Drew Brees, who are still around and made the right call by staying around after rumors the past few years that Payton might be out, and they stuck together, and now they're a contender again. The Carolina Panthers should be thankful for Cam Newton. The Atlanta Falcons should be thankful for Matt Ryan. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers should be thankful for a great young wide receiver in Mike Evans. The Seattle Seahawks should be thankful for Russell Wilson. The San Francisco 49ers should be thankful for a good young head coach in Kyle Shanahan. Everything went wrong for them. They lost Jimmy Garoppolo and Jerick McKinnon for the year. But in 2 years, Garoppolo should be among the quarterbacks top tier level like he showed a little bit last year. Because I think next year is going to be a little bit of a recovery year for him, just like what we're seeing with Carson Wentz and Deshaun Watson this year. The Arizona Cardinals should be thankful for Josh Rosen, who may turn out to be a good quarterback down the road. The Los Angeles Rams should be thankful for Sean McVay, who has rejuvenated Jared Goff's career after people wrote him off after his rookie season. Baseball. I'm going to go by divisions again. It's just a little easier. The Baltimore Orioles should be thankful for their new front office, who will eventually get this team in the right direction, I think. The Boston Red Sox should be thankful that they just won the World Series this past year because it won't be easy for them to repeat next year. The New York Yankees should be thankful for having an ownership and front office that is willing to spend money, because I expect them to be big players in the free agent market this winter. The Tampa Bay Rays should be thankful for Kevin Cash, who has become one of the better young managers in the game. The Toronto Blue Jays should be thankful for Vlad Guerrero Jr., who's going to come up next year and absolutely rake. The Chicago White Sox should be thankful for Eloy Jimenez, like Guerrero, who's going to come up and rake. The Cleveland Indians should be thankful for their good young pitching staff. Well, not really young, but their good pitching staff that has kept them in contention these last few years. The Detroit Tigers should be thankful for their young prospects down in the minors who will eventually be up soon. And I'm talking about the young pitchers down there that they have. And there's a lot to name. The Kansas City Royals should be thankful they won the World Series 3 years ago, because it's going to be a long way back for them. The Minnesota Twins should be thankful for some promising young talent on their roster, such as Miguel Sano, Byron Buxton, and Jose Barrios. Those three guys are keys to their success potentially going forward. The Houston Astros should be thankful for their great young core led by Jose Altuve, Alex Bregman, Carlos Correa, and George Springer. The Los Angeles Angels should be thankful for Mike Trout. The Oakland Athletics should be thankful for the most underrated GM in the game in Billy Beane and the most underrated manager in the game in Bob Melvin. The Seattle Mariners should be thankful for Jerry DiPoto, who I think will eventually get this team in the right direction. I think their reboot is eventually going to be ahead of the Orioles and the Kansas City Royals in terms of who's going to be good first, or I should say good again first. The Texas Rangers should be thankful for some of the young talent they have in the minors and up in the majors, such as Joey Gallo and Ronald Guzman, Isaiah Canefa, whatever his name is, showed flashes last year. National League, the Atlanta Braves should be thankful for their great young core led by Ronald Acuna Jr. and veteran first baseman Freddie Freeman. The Miami Marlins should be thankful for their young core led by Lewis Brinson and Brian Anderson. The New York Mets should be thankful for their pitching staff led by Jacob deGrom and Noah Syndergaard, unless Syndergaard's traded. The Philadelphia Phillies should be thankful for an ownership that's willing to spend money, which I expect them to do this winter. The Washington Nationals should be thankful for a good pitching staff led by Max Scherzer and Steven Strasburg and a young core led by Juan Soto and Victor Robles. The Chicago Cubs should be thankful for a great core led by Chris Bryant and Anthony Rizzo. The Cincinnati Reds should be thankful for a promising core led by Scooter Gennett, who could be traded, and Eugenio Suarez, and some young guys coming up eventually like Nick Senzel. The Milwaukee Brewers should be thankful that they have the reigning National League MVP on their team and Christian Yelich. The Pittsburgh Pirates should be thankful for their up-and-coming guys coming shortly like Mitch Keller, who will join Jameson Taillon and Chris Archer in that rotation. The St. Louis Cardinals should be thankful for their core, Matt Carpenter, Paul DeJong, and in their young pitching such as Jack Flaherty and Luke Weaver, although Weaver really didn't live up to hype this year. And Alex Reyes, who seems to be injury prone, and that's very sad because he has shown so much potential in his short time. The Arizona Diamondbacks should be thankful for having one of the best first basemen in the game in Paul Goldschmidt, who may not be a member of the Diamondbacks next year. The Colorado Rockies should be thankful for having one of the best third basemen in baseball, Nolan Arenado. The Los Angeles Dodgers should be thankful for having ownership that's willing to spend money at any time. The San Francisco Giants should be thankful that they won 3 championships this decade because they're going to be heading for bad times as they've been the last couple years. The San Diego Padres should be thankful for a great young farm system, which is ultimately going to lead them to bigger and better things down the road. NBA, the Boston Celtics should be thankful that they have Jason Tatum on their team rather than Markelle Fultz. Good job by Danny Ainge trading down last year. The Brooklyn Nets should be thankful for a promising young core led by the currently injured Karis LeVert and a promising GM in Sean Marks and a promising coach in Kenny Atkinson. The New York Knicks should be thankful that they have a great coach in David Fizdale and a promising front office with Steve Mills and Scott Perry, who traded Carmelo Anthony at the right time and got a steal in that trade by getting a second-round pick that turned out to be Mitch Robinson, and Enes Kanter, who's a double-double machine, who can't play defense but could eventually flip again for assets down the road. The Philadelphia 76ers should be thankful for 2 franchise players in Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons, which helped them become contenders and make the big trade for Jimmy Butler. The Toronto Raptors should be thankful that they traded for Kawhi Leonard, and even with the Leonard trade, this team is excellent. The Chicago Bulls should be thankful for their young core, led by Zach LaVine and Lauri Markkanen once Markkanen comes back from injury. They also have Wendell Carter Jr. on that team. The Cleveland Cavaliers should be thankful that LeBron ended up coming back and delivering them a championship. Their future is very bleak, although Colin Sexton's a nice player. So the Detroit Pistons should be thankful that they have 2 of the best big men in the game in Blake Griffin and Andre Drummond. The Indiana Pacers should be thankful that they landed Victor Oladipo in the trade for Paul George, as well as Domantas Sabonis. They're not the clear winners of that trade, but they couldn't have done a better job. The Milwaukee Bucks should be thankful for Giannis Antetokounmpo, who is arguably the best player in the Eastern Conference and is currently the favorite to win the NBA MVP award. The Miami Heat should be thankful for Pat Riley and Eric Spoelstra, even though they have not lived up to expectations the last couple years. But they're a great combination at GM and head coach. The Atlanta Hawks should be thankful for Trae Young, who's putting up some gaudy numbers this year, even though he's had some stinkers as well, and will still have some stinkers. The Washington Wizards should be thankful for Bradley Beal and John Wall, in which Beal, I think, will bring them back a lot. I'm not sure about Wall once they trade those guys. The Charlotte Hornets should be thankful for Kemba Walker, who is having a career year in his contract year. And now it's a question of, do they re-sign him or not? And last but not least, in that division, the Orlando Magic should be thankful that they have a new good coach in Steve Clifford, who's gotten them to overachieve so far this year. Western Conference, the Golden State Warriors should be thankful that they have the best foursome in the NBA by a mile. The Los Angeles Lakers should be thankful for having LeBron James on their team and have a chance to win every single game because of him. The Los Angeles Clippers should be thankful for keeping around Doc Rivers, who's gotten them to overachieve so far this year, although I had them as my surprise team of the NBA. They were much better than I even expected, to be honest. The Sacramento Kings should be thankful for De'Aaron Fox, who is emerging as a franchise player for them. The Phoenix Suns should be thankful for a promising young core led by Devin Booker and DeAndre Ayton. The Dallas Mavericks should be thankful for Luka Doncic, who's lived up to hype and, in my mind, is the favorite to win the Rookie of the Year award. The San Antonio Spurs should be thankful for Greg Popovich, who continues to get a lot out of his players. The Houston Rockets should be thankful for a great backcourt of Chris Paul and James Harden. The Memphis Grizzlies should be thankful for their core two of Mike Conley and Marc Gasol being healthy for once and leading them to some wins. And rookie Jaren Jackson Jr. has helped big time. The New Orleans Pelicans should be thankful for having Anthony Davis on their roster. The Minnesota Timberwolves should be thankful for having Karl Anthony Towns on their team. The Denver Nuggets should be thankful for having a great young core led by Jamal Murray, Nikola Jokic, and Gary Harris. The Portland Trailblazers should be thankful for their backcourt of Damian Lillard and CJ McCollum. The Oklahoma City Thunder should be thankful for trading for Paul George and letting him re-sign with them, and also bringing along Russell Westbrook long-term to remain competitive and being a contender in the Western Conference. And the Utah Jazz should be thankful for their core led by Donovan Mitchell and Rudy Gobert, even though they've underachieved. Hockey, we're going to start with the Metro Division. The Washington Capitals should be thankful that they won the Stanley Cup a year ago because they seem to be having a hangover, like the Eagles in football. The Pittsburgh Penguins should be thankful that they have Sidney Crosby on their team. Yes, they've struggled this year, but offense hasn't been the problem, defense has. But once Crosby comes back, I think that team's going to be motivated a little bit. The Columbus Blue Jackets should be thankful they have one of the best goalies in the league in Sergei Bobrovsky and a possible franchise player in Artemi Panarin, who's playing for a new contract. The Philadelphia Flyers should be thankful for having one of the best players in the league in Claude Giroux and a great core around them. The New York Islanders should be thankful for Barry Trotz, who's gotten that team to overachieve this year. The New York Rangers should be thankful for Henrik Lundqvist, who's been the key reason why this team has overachieved this year. Well, his resurgence. The New Jersey Devils should be thankful for Ray Shero, who I think is one of the best GMs in the game and has made some great moves in his tenure so far with the Devils. The Carolina Hurricanes should be thankful for Andrei Svechnikov, who they drafted number 2 overall, who I think is going to be a stud someday, and he and Sebastian Aho will lead them for years to come. All right, Atlantic Division. The Montreal Canadiens should be thankful for Carey Price, who's been a key reason why they've overachieved this year. The Ottawa Senators should be thankful for Matt Duchene, who's been the key cog to them overachieving this year. I think they should trade him while his value is this high, because this team was supposed to be terrible this year. The Toronto Maple Leafs should be thankful for Austin Matthews. Yes, he's hurt, but he's a franchise player who will lead this franchise to big things down the road. The Florida Panthers should be thankful for their great core led by Alexander Barkov and Aaron Ekblad. The Detroit Red Wings should be thankful for Dylan Larkin, who has shown so much promise these last few years. The Tampa Bay Lightning should be thankful for a great coach in John Cooper and a great core with Steven Stamkos, Nikita Kucherov, and Victor Hedman, and adding a lot of pieces, notably former Rangers, along the way. The Boston Bruins should be thankful for their great core led by Brad Marchand and Patrice Bergeron, and a great head coach in Bruce Cassidy, who's done nothing but winning in the regular season since he's been behind their bench. And last but not least, the Buffalo Sabres should be thankful for Jack Eichel and Rasmus Dahlin, who are two franchise-changing players for them. Western Conference. This is going to be in random order. The Chicago Blackhawks should be thankful that they won 3 Stanley Cups this decade. This reminds me of the San Francisco Giants a little bit. It's going to be ugly for them within the next couple years. A lot of bad contracts on the books. They still have great players on their team in Jonathan Toews and Patrick Kane. But some of those guys are declining, like Taves and Duncan Keith. Kane's still playing at a high level, but this team might be a doormat for a couple years before they're back to being a contender. The St. Louis Blues should be thankful for Vladimir Tarasenko, who is one of the best 10 players in the NHL, who scores goals like it's no problem. The Colorado Avalanche should be thankful for their 3 great players in Nathan McKinnon, Mikko Rantanen, and Gabriel Landeskog, who I think is the best top line in the NHL. The Nashville Predators should be thankful for their great core, led by Philip Forsberg and Victor Edvardsen, among others, who have become the best team in the National Hockey League this season. The Dallas Stars should be thankful for a good offense led by Tyler Seguin and Jamie Benn, and a promising young new head coach in Jim Montgomery. The Minnesota Wild should be thankful for Bruce Boudreau, who continues to get these guys to overachieve year after year after year. And last but not least, the Winnipeg Jets should be thankful for Patrick Laine, who is going to be a superstar in the National Hockey League within the next couple seasons. The San Jose Sharks should be thankful for their great top 2 pairing in Erik Karlsson and Brent Burns, who will put up their points and will prevent other teams from scoring goals eventually once they get going a little bit. The Calgary Flames should be thankful for Johnny Gaudreau, who is one of the better players in the NHL. The Vancouver Canucks should be thankful for Elias Pettersson, who is the runaway favorite for the Calder Trophy right now. The Edmonton Oilers should be thankful that they have the best player in the game on their team in Connor McDavid. The Anaheim Ducks should be thankful for a great young defense and goaltender in John Gibson, with the defense led by Cam Fowler, among others. The Arizona Coyotes should be thankful for their young core led by Clayton Keller, who've been one of the surprise teams in the NHL this year. From a record standpoint, they're 9-1, and they haven't played that many games. The Las Vegas Golden Knights should be thankful that they were in the Stanley Cup Final last year, because reality's starting to settle in for them. And the Los Angeles Kings should be thankful that they won 2 cups this decade, because like the Blackhawks, it might be a long way for them to be back to Stanley Cup contender status. And that's why every sports franchise should be thankful. Now the picks. The lines and the totals with my picks are going to be via FanDuel. I usually do them via Vegas Insider, but sometimes they don't have the proper order. So I'm going to start with Thanksgiving college football. There's 2 games on the slate. The first game tomorrow, 3:30 on the CBS Sports Network. You have Air Force hosting Colorado State. The points are tempting, but I'm going to take Air Force obviously straight up. But I'm going to pass on the points and take the over 62.5. Tomorrow night at 7:30 on ESPN, you have Mississippi State at Ole Miss. The Egg Bowl, which is not as intriguing as it's been in years past. I'm going to take the Bulldogs on the road, and I think they'll cover the 11.5. Black Friday, you have Akron at Ohio. Give me Ohio to win and cover the 23.5. Buffalo at Bowling Green. I like Buffalo to win and cover the 14.5. Central Michigan against Toledo. I like Toledo here to win and cover the 18.5. Eastern Michigan at Kent State. I like Eastern Michigan to win and cover the number. Houston at Memphis. I think Memphis wins, but I'm going to take the over 75. Nebraska at Iowa. I'm taking Iowa to win, but I'm taking the over 53.5. Texas at Kansas. I'm taking Texas to win, but I'm taking the over 49. Arkansas at Missouri. I'm taking Missouri to win and cover the big number with 23. Coastal Carolina, South Alabama's a pick'em. I'm taking Coastal Carolina to clinch bowl eligibility. East Carolina at Cincinnati. I'm taking Cincinnati to win, but the play here is over 50.5. Virginia against Virginia Tech. I am taking the Hokies plus the 4.5 to win outright. Oregon against Oregon State. I am taking the Ducks to win, but I'm taking the Beavers to cover the 17.5. I just think that's too big. Central Florida against South Florida. I think Central wins, but I'm taking the over 69.5. Oklahoma, West Virginia. This is the biggest game on Friday night by a mile and Friday during the day by a mile. Winner of this game goes to the Big 12 title game. This game would have been a lot more intriguing to me if West Virginia had pulled out that win over Oklahoma State, as I mentioned before. I'm going to take the Sooners to win, but I'm going to take the over 84. I think the Mountaineers hang around this game. I won't be surprised if the Mountaineers pull out the outright upset. Washington against Washington State. I like the Cougars to win and cover the 2.5. Florida against Florida State. I'm taking the Seminoles plus the 6.5, and I think they win outright. And the plus 195 is my moneyline pick of the week. I just think Felipe Franks is not a good quarterback, and DeAndre Francois outplays them, and the Seminoles get the victory. Georgia Tech and Georgia. I'm going to take Georgia the win, but I'm going to take the over 59.5. Marshall and FIU. I'm taking FIU to win outright. They're getting 3. Michigan against Ohio State. I'm taking Michigan to win and to cover the 4.5. Navy and Tulane. I'm taking Tulane to win, but I'm going over 53.5. Purdue, Indiana. Tough call. I think Purdue wins, but I'm going to take over 64.5. Syracuse and Boston College. I'm taking the Eagles to win, but I'm taking the over 57.5. I think the quarterback for Syracuse comes back as the Orange will put up their points. Boston College gets the win. Texas Tech and Baylor. I am taking the Red Raiders to win, but I'm taking over 65 instead of the -6. Western Kentucky, Louisiana Tech. I'm taking Louisiana Tech minus the 11. NC State, North Carolina. I'm taking NC State the -7. Wake Forest and Duke. I'm taking Duke to win, but I'm taking the over 58.5. Old Dominion and Rice. I'm taking Old Dominion to win, but I'm going to take the under 63. I think that Rice's defense will actually play okay, and Old Dominion will put up some points and put it away late. I could see this being like a 30-10 type of game. Georgia Southern, Georgia State. I am taking Georgia Southern to win, but I'm taking Georgia State to cover. New Mexico State and Liberty. I'm taking Liberty to win, but New Mexico State to cover. Troy and Appalachian State. By the way, Georgia State's getting 11 and New Mexico State's getting 8, but I'm taking Southern to win and Liberty to win. Troy and Appalachian State. I am taking Appalachian State to win, but Troy to cover the plus 10.5. Wyoming and New Mexico. I am taking New Mexico to pull out the outright upset. Plus 215 on the money line, plus 7 in general. Southern Miss, UTEP, I'm taking Southern Miss minus the 13. Stanford, UCLA, drop it. This is actually my money line pick of the week. I'm taking UCLA plus the 230. They're plus 7 against the spread. UCLA beats Stanford. UAB, Middle Tennessee, I am taking Middle Tennessee getting the 2.5 at home to pull out the outright upset. UL Lafayette and UL Monroe, I'm taking UL Monroe minus the 3. Arizona State, Arizona. I think Arizona wins outright. They're getting 1.5. Auburn, Alabama. I'm taking Alabama to win, but the play here is over 52.5. Illinois, Northwestern. I'm taking Northwestern They're laying 17. I think that's too much. Illinois got blown out at home last week, but instead I'm going to take over 58 because I think Northwestern's going to peek ahead a little bit. I wouldn't be shocked if Illinois kept it within the number. And I think 17 is the right number, so I'm going to take the over. Maryland and Penn State, I am going to take Penn State to win. 13.5 is a little dicey, so I'm going to take the over 53.5. Minnesota, Wisconsin, I'm taking Wisconsin to win. Again, over 54. Pittsburgh and Miami, I'm going to take Pitt on the road to pull out the upset, plus 4.5. SMU and Tulsa, I'm going to take SMU minus the 2.5. Temple and UConn, I'm taking Temple to win, but I'm going over 67. Arkansas State and Texas State, I'm taking Arkansas State to win and covered 11.5. Tennessee and Vandy, I'm taking Vandy to win, but I like over 50.5. Charlotte and FAU, I'm taking FAU to win and cover the 17.5. Colorado and Cal, I'm taking Cal to win, but Colorado to cover the 12.5. That's too much for Cal. Kansas State and Iowa State, I'm taking Iowa State to win, but I'm going over 40.5. Kentucky and Louisville, I'm taking Kentucky to win, but I'm going over 52. Yes, I'm taking Kentucky over. Their offense is atrocious. I'm taking the over because Louisville can't stop anybody. North Texas and UTSA, I'm taking North Texas to win, but I'm going to take the under 51.5. Because I think this is a low-scoring game. San Jose State and Fresno State. Fresno's laying 32. I'm taking Fresno, but I'm going to take the under 49.5. That's a little risky, though. South Carolina and Clemson, I'm taking Clemson to win and to cover the 26. LSU, Texas A&M. I like Texas A&M to win on the field, but I think 3 is the right number, so instead I'm going to go under the 47.5, even though that's real risky. Notre Dame and USC, I'm going to take Notre Dame to win. 11 seems like a good number here. I could see this being 35-24 easily. But instead, I'm going to go over 54. Oklahoma State, TCU. I think TCU wins outright. They're getting 5.5. Nevada and UNLV. I'm taking Nevada straight up. But I'm going to take the points. 13.5. BYU and Utah. I'm going to take Utah to win. But I'm going to go over 44. Utah State, Boise State. I'm taking Boise State to win and cover the 2.5. And last but not least, Hawaii at San Diego State. I am taking San Diego State to win and cover the 17. Now I'm going to do NFL really quick. Thanksgiving football. Chicago at Detroit. Mitch Trubisky may not play. Lions tend to do well on Thanksgiving. Within the last couple years, I'm taking the Detroit Lions to cover the 2.5 and to win the game outright. Washington Redskins, Dallas Cowboys. I am taking Dallas here. No Alex Smith for Washington. 7's a big number, but instead I'm going to go under 40.5. I think that's the safer play. Falcons at the Saints. 2 great offensive teams. I'm taking the plus 13 here. Oh, no, I'm sorry. I'm going to take the over 59.5. That's my mistake because my final score had the Saints by 14. I think the safer bet's the over. Sunday games. You have the Browns at the Bengals. I think the Bengals win here and cover the 3. Jacksonville, Buffalo. I like Buffalo getting 3. I think they win the game outright. Patriots and the Jets. Tough call here. I'm going to take the Patriots. I'm going to lay the 9.5. Why not? I think the Pats get a touchdown late to have them win by 13. I could see this being like a 37-24 type of win for the Pats. Giants, Eagles. This line was at 6.5. Now it's down to 5.5. Tough call here. I'm going to take over 46 as my play here, but I think the Eagles win the game on the field. Raiders, Ravens. The Ravens are favored by 11. I think that's too much. I'm going to go over 43.5 instead because the Raiders' defense is so bad. I think the Ravens win on the field, though. 49ers, Buccaneers. I'm going to take over 54.5 as the play. The Bucs to win on the field. Seattle and Carolina. Carolina's a 3.5-point favorite. I think Carolina wins on the field, but the play here is over 47. Cardinals, Chargers. I like the Chargers to cover the 13. Bounce back win for them here. Dolphins at the Colts. The Colts are a 7.5-point favorite. I think they win and cover. That's a 4 o'clock game, by the way. Steelers-Broncos, my favorite game. That's not the night game. I think the Denver Broncos cover the 3 and, dare I say, win the game outright. Green Bay and the Vikings. Tough call here. Aaron Rodgers is playing better. Minnesota, second straight primetime game. I like the Vikings at home. 3.5 is just a tricky spot. I'm going to go with the over 47.5 and the Vikings to win on the field. And Titans-Texans is a nice one. I think the Texans win the game, but the Titans cover the 6.5. And that's it for the football picks. And now, sponsored by FanDuel. You got my best bet. You can bank on it. In the NBA, I like the Celtics over the Knicks, the Raptors over the Hawks, the Rockets over the Pistons, and the Lakers over the Cavs. In hockey, this is a bit of a risky call, but I'm going to take the Predators over the Blues in the Blues' first game under Craig Berube. I'm going to go with another risk. I'm taking the Tampa Bay Lightning over the Florida Panthers without Andre Vasilevsky. I'm going to take the Buffalo Sabres at home over the Philadelphia Flyers. I just love how Buffalo's playing lately. In a home national game, I can see them coming out and winning the game. And then the lock of the night in hockey is the Minnesota Wild over the Ottawa Senators at home. So the only road team on this parlay, I should say only 2 road teams on here are the Raptors and the Lakers. Everybody else is home. I just don't see the Cavaliers or the Hawks beating the Lakers or the Raptors outright. It's plus $13.59 to win, $13.59 with a potential payout of $14.59. That's it for the podcast today. Hour-long show today. I'll be back Saturday. No podcast tomorrow or Friday. I'll be back Saturday recapping everything and going over some other stuff. I hope you guys have a great Thanksgiving, everybody.